Hey, talk about your fine machine.
Brain power
Makes you thoroughly unique.
with the power to think.
You can learn anything.
Brain power. 100 billion neurons
Hey, you got a lot of nerve. Got their own communication.
transmitting information.
It's electrical, thoroughly chemical.
Brain power.
You know, Juan, I just can't understand why advertisers are allowed to run ads like these after we've all learned how bad drinking alcohol is for you.
Let me see. Yeah, I've seen ads like these too with people drinking and looking all happy. Don't they know alcohol can kill your brain cells if you drink enough?
And some of us need every brain cell we have.
Speak for yourself.
But it bugs me how advertisers make it seem like drinking is cool.
Maybe they're a little short on brain cells.
Hi, kids.
Hey, can't you just knock at the door? Like that.
Well, that's no fun.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Letitia, and this is my friend Jay. And we're in the Spectacular Scientist Club.
Is this the Brain Power Club?
It certainly is. Come on in.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh, I feel a mission coming on. Whoop, 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 whoop. Mission alert, mission alert.
Wow, what's that?
Oh, that's just Cordy, our friendly neighborhood brain.
And he has a mission for us. All right, we're ready.
Is he always like that?
Pretty much. I mean, he's not your everyday brain. But you'll get used to him. And his missions.
Better get the introductions out of the way so we can get started.
Well, I'm Beth, and this is my friend Juan. We're junior scientists, and what we're working on is the problem of drugs in our society.
And when we say drugs, we mean things like alcohol and cigarettes too.
Hey, that's what we've been working on too. Have you learned about the difference between legal and illegal drugs?
Yeah, medications for colds and headaches and things like that are legal, but you have to take them with a parent's supervision.
Cigarettes and alcohol are legal for adults, but they can really do some damage, and they're always illegal for kids.
And drugs like marijuana and cocaine are illegal for everyone.
It sounds like we're learning about the same things. It's pretty interesting, isn't it?
It's interesting, and it could save your life.
Before you came in, we were talking about all the ads you see in magazines for liquor and wine and beer, and how the people in the ads always seem so cool and happy.
Yeah, I've seen these ads too.
Hi, kids.
Cordy, for a brain, you don't have much sense. Jay and Letitia aren't used to you yet. You'll get used to Cordy's antics. He's just being silly.
Addiction actually has a lot to do with today's mission, and I hope you kids will work together on this challenge.
Well, 4 heads are better than 1.
Great. Here's the mission. I want you to find out why people keep taking drugs that are bad for them. Bye.
You Cordy! can't just leave.
You didn't tell us more than that.
But he is a brain.
More like a head case. Anyway, guess we'll have to figure out this mission on our own.
Well, there are ads that make smoking and drinking look cool, but why do people use illegal drugs? And where do they find out about them anyway?
At school, we find out information about how harmful illegal drugs can be.
And sometimes we see stories in newspapers and magazines and on TV.
I have an idea. Let's make a scrapbook showing all of the places you can find information on illegal drugs. And that means all of you, too.
Who are you talking to, Beth?
I'm talking to all the aspiring scientists out there who are watching us as we solve our mission. We're on TV. So, stick with us, Letitia, and we'll make you a star. We'll be back soon, and we want to see your scrapbooks, too.
Okay, now let me out.
Cordy, you got in there. You get out.
I can't. I'm stuck. If you don't let me out, I'm going to call the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Brains and report you.
Cordy, we've seen you appear and disappear many times before. You could do anything if you put your mind to it. You could get yourself out.
Of course. Why didn't I think of that? Well, how did you do?
Let's put it this way. We learned a lot. Drugs seem to be a complicated topic.
Run that by me one more time.
What she means is that we've gathered a lot of information on how advertisers and the media sell things that aren't really good for people.
They make drinking and smoking look fun and cool, even though they can be harmful.
And in movies, you even see people using illegal drugs. And sometimes it seems like they're having a really good time, too. So that's almost like an advertisement, although it's not supposed to be.
And that's why I said I think we learned a lot. Because we found a lot of ads in movies that make bad things look good. So, in a way, we understand why people might start using drugs, but we still don't understand why people keep using them.
Yeah, they must know they can really get sick.
And I'd like to know why some TV commercials and advertisements make bad things look good.
Those are really good points. So what can you do about it?
Well, we can tell our friends about what we've learned, that just because something looks good doesn't mean it is.
And we can control what we put in our bodies, so we serve as examples to others.
I think it's important to spread the word on what illegal drugs can do to our bodies.
And maybe people will realize that it really isn't cool to harm themselves.
Those are all really great ideas. Next time, we're going to learn about how drugs and alcohol affect our brains, a subject near and dear to me. Now, whistle along with me. If I only had a brain.
Oh, Cordy.
Sorry.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Brain power. Hey, what makes you so smart?
It's the brain, it's the brain, it's the brain.
Come on, you got the power. Brain power.
Hey, talk about your fine machine.
Brain power.
Makes you thoroughly unique.
With the power to think.
You can learn anything.
Brain power. 100 billion neurons.
Hey, you got a lot of nerve. Got their own communication.
The brain is really so interesting. You don't think about it, but it does all your thinking for you.
We couldn't even breathe if we didn't have a brain.
Don't even think about it, Buster.
Cordy!
Hey, you're giving me a headache playing with those things.
But Cordy, we're really interested in brains. They're very important, and we want to learn more about them.
Now that's food for thought. So what do you want to know?
We want to learn how scientists know so much about brains. I mean, how do you study brains? You need to have X-ray vision to look inside someone's head.
And of course, in some cases, you might not see much at all.
And in other cases, you might find some rocks.
Let me know when you're ready to put your brain power to work for the forces of good. Okay, I have the perfect mission for you. How about teaming up with the other club again so you can help each other out?
We don't need any help. We're junior scientists.
Yeah, but you know what would be fun?
What?
How about if we compete with them?
That's a great idea.
You're wasting brain power by splitting up. Okay, whatever. I'll tell the Spectacular Scientist Club members the plan. Now, listen up. How do scientists know so much about brains? How do they learn about brains? And what can we learn from them?
It sounds like we'd have to talk to some real scientists to find the answers to those questions.
You're right, and I'm going to introduce you to some of my scientist friends that study drug abuse research. Here is the first scientist, Anna Rose Childress. She uses structural MRI to study the brain.
MRI means magnetic resonance imaging. And what's really interesting about this technique is that you can use magnetic fields to make pictures of the brain, of where the activity is in the brain, based on where more blood is flowing. What happens now, where is the brain more active when a person is watching, for example, a drug video? And will we be able to see a pattern that's different than when a person is watching a nature video? One of the ways that MRI differs from the other kinds of imaging techniques is that it doesn't involve any radioactivity. And because it's not radioactive, it can also be used with children or potentially with people who are pregnant, so there is a broader range of people that can be studied.
Wow, MRI sounds very useful. The next scientist is Nora Volkov. She uses PET scans to study the effects of drugs on the brain.
PET stands for positron emission tomography. It's an instrument that allows you to take images of the brain, and it allows you to take images of the functioning human brain. When a person is going to undergo a PET study, they go into the laboratory, they lay in a table, and then a physician injects them with a very small amount of a radioactive substance that then is going to be measured by the PET camera. What a PET scan will show will depend on the compound that you are using. So if you are using cocaine labeled with the radioactivity, then what the PET scan will show is the distribution of the drug in the human brain. The concentration of radioactivity that is used for these type of studies, PET or SPECT, is very small. So there is no, is not harmful and is not different from the radioactivity that you may get when you go to the doctor and they want to take a chest x-ray of your lungs. What we are finding out is that if a kid takes a drug during adolescence, they are much more likely to become addicted later on in adulthood than if they first start taking the drug in adulthood. So it appears that the period of adolescence when your brain is growing is a period where the brain is much more vulnerable to modification.
The last scientist is my buddy Bob Mallison, who uses SPECT to study the brain.
SPECT is kind of a long series of names that are actually much easier to understand than it sounds like. SPECT stands for Single Photon Emission Computed Tomography. SPECT scanning is a non-invasive tool that doesn't hurt or harm anyone. What's mostly involved is a salt solution that people need to drink prior to the scan that prevents radioactivity from being taken up by certain organs in the body. And then they get an injection of a medication that's been radioactively tagged or labeled so that we can follow it as it courses through someone's body. In the case of the medications that I look at, most of the medications I look at travel to the brain, and then we take pictures of where that radioactive medication is located in the brain. For the most part, SPECT and PET are able to look at the same kinds of things in the brain. Both of those are very different than magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI. One of the studies that I'm currently doing is I'm looking at the brains of people who are addicted to cocaine. And what my research has shown actually is it looks like people addicted to cocaine have much higher numbers of these cocaine receptors. My research has also shown that these receptor levels stay high, not just when somebody's using the drug, but appear to stay high for weeks and maybe even months after someone stops using cocaine. And those results suggest that the changes in the brain that drugs induce, drugs like cocaine, can last for a long period of time, much after the time that people stop using the drug.
Those are some interesting ways to study the brain. What did you guys think?
Wow, they sure said a mouthful. I didn't realize how much scientists had to do and learn.
That's the truth. You know what? Let's make a chart so we can organize this information and study it better.
That's a good idea. And remember, we want to see your charts too. Get going. Help us beat the Spectacular Scientist Club.
Very nice. You've really been paying attention. So, tell me what you've learned.
We learned about 3 types of imaging: MRI, PET, and SPECT.
We also learned how each is used to help scientists study drug abuse.
Great job. But I can't stick around. I've got to give a mission to the kids in the Spectacular Scientist Club.
What's their mission?
Can't tell you. Top secret. If you'd cooperated instead of competing, you'd be in on it too, but... See ya!
Cordy, help us out.
You wanted to compete.
Just a hint.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. Neurotransmitters. The brain's no good without them. They go together like PB&J, cereal and milk, synapses and neurons. So you could say neurotransmission is another example of teamwork.
Cordy, you're a brain with a one-track mind.
Conjugation, meditation.
Revelation. Brain power.
Hey, what makes you so smart?
It's the brain, it's the brain, it's the brain. Come on, you got the power. Brain power.
Hey, talk about your fly machine.
Brain power.
Makes you thoroughly unique.
With the power thing,
You can learn anything. Brain power.
100 billion neurons
Hey, you got a lot of nerves. Got their own communication.
transmitting information.
It's electrical.
You have good reflexes, Jay.
A sign of someone ready to kick off a serious campaign to become a future junior scientist.
It would be fun to be a junior scientist like the Brain Power Club kids, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I like it here in their clubhouse, and I think if we do a good job on our next mission, we'll get promoted.
Oh, wow! That's just what I have for you, a mission. You're going to compete with the junior scientists to see who can solve more missions.
Cool.
The junior scientists solved the last one, so this is up to you. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is neurotransmission.
So, this is a neurotransmission?
Not really. I mean, it's part of your mission, learning about neurotransmission. It's the process that takes information to and from the brain.
I must be having a neurotransmission breakdown because I don't get it.
That makes two of us.
Jay, why don't you sit down at the other computer? Letitia, send an instant message to Jay. Okay, that's one way to send information. How else can you do it?
By telephone?
Or email.
Right, but brains don't have telephones or email. Well, I mean, I do, but I'm different.
That's for sure.
But typical brains have to find another way to communicate with the rest of their bodies. And they do it by using the synapses between neurons, or brain cells, as a kind of internet, like when you send instant messages. Maybe it's time to call in an expert. This is Elliot Stein, a scientist friend of mine who studies neurotransmission. He'll explain how it all works to you.
The brain is made up of literally billions of neurons. Each of these neurons or cells communicate with other cells in a very complex fashion. Those communication points are known as synapses. And we have literally an uncountable number of synapses in the brain. But these are very important points because it's at these points that we think learning and memory take place. It's at these points that every drug, both illicit drugs as well as drugs that we use therapeutically, act. Neurotransmitters are small chemicals, small molecules that are produced in the neuron, transmitted down from the cell body, down the axon terminal, stored in the axon, and then released as a consequence of electrical activity. And that gives us a better understanding of why people call the brain an electrochemical machine, because it requires an electrical transmission to transmit information down the axon, and then a release of a chemical substance, which then passes through a gap called the synapse, a very small space between one neuron and another. Most, if not all, drugs of abuse act directly upon this synaptic mechanism to cause such changes in this synapse that then ultimately alters brain behavior and brain function.
Now have you got it? Your mission is to design a board game to teach other kids about neurotransmission.
Whoa!
Cool. Hard, but cool.
Of course, board games are best when played in teams. The Brain Power kids just finished a mission about the brain, which sure would come in handy right now. It would be easier with more information about the brain. It's like playing charades without a partner.
Oh, it'll be okay, Cordy. We'll come up with a great game anyway.
And you kids start working on your game too, and try to work together.
Ta-da!
Done?
All done.
Hey, it looks like fun. How do you play?
Each play is a neuron, a brain cell. See how the pieces are shaped like neurons? The goal is to get an important piece of information to the brain.
At the beginning of the game, each player finds out what their piece of information is from a booklet. Mine is I'm being chased by a hungry lion and I need to let my brain know so it can tell my body what to do. Run!
I'm hungry for pizza, and I have to get that information to the brain so that my body knows how to get a slice. Hold the anchovies, please.
Very clever.
And then there are 2 sets of cards. This set tells the players how many spaces to move their pieces. Like this card reads, neurotransmitters are just released into the synapse. Move ahead 3 spaces. A message didn't go through. Go back 3 spaces.
Then there's another set of cards called challenge cards, with questions that test players' knowledge of neurotransmitters. This one asked to name the parts of a neuron. If you get it right, you move ahead 2 spaces. The answer is on the back of the card.
Explain what the myelin sheath is and why it's important. If you're right, advance 3 spaces.
Well, I have a question for you. What part of the brain would help if you were taking a test in math class? Or if you wanted a pizza, what part of your brain would tell you how to get some? Which part of the brain helped you make up this game? Don't know? Well, this is a good game, but it only tells half the story. You know where you'd find the other half?
You're the brain, you tell us.
Oh, I think I know. Didn't the Brain Power kids have a mission that taught them about the brain?
Now your synapses are firing. You need to work together to make this game a real brain teaser.
Well, it would be more fun to be played with 4.
Maybe you can do your next mission together. You'll need to know about the brain and neurotransmission to solve it.
Guess we'll have to put our heads together for that one.
And the kids who are watching will too.
Yep.
See you next time.
Come back soon. Think brain power.
Brain power. Hey, what makes you so smart?
It's the brain, it's the brain, it's the brain.
Come on, you got the power. Brain power.
Hey, talk about your fine machine.
Brain power.
Makes you thoroughly unique.
With the power to think,
You can learn anything.
brain power. 100 billion neurons
Hey, you got a lot of nerve. Got their own communication.
transmitting information.
It's electrical.
So, how do you think the Spectacular Scientists Club kids did on their mission?
I don't know. They're nice kids, but they're not junior scientists like we are.
Well, I think it's kind of fun that this is a competition. I think we can beat them. It's kind of like playing soccer, but it's science. Oh, hey, Cordy.
Why are you guys being so competitive? Scientists work together to solve problems. It's called teamwork.
But we want to win, triumph, beat the other team.
Be the best.
Winning is about finding the right answers, and you can probably do that faster together. But we'll talk about that later. For now, we're going to learn about drugs.
Drugs? We already know about drugs.
We learned about drugs when we were little kids.
Well, what you're about to learn isn't kid stuff. It's so important that not knowing it can be hazardous to your health. Juan, can you tell us about the different kinds of drugs?
I don't think we covered that.
Well, drugs are categorized into classes, and one of the classes is stimulants.
Oh, wait a second. We learned about stimulants like cocaine and caffeine, like in coffee.
Nicotine in cigarettes is a stimulant too, and amphetamines.
Do you know what stimulants do?
Yeah, they make you more awake and active. They make your heart beat faster, your blood pressure go up, and you get hyper and sometimes even angry and irritable.
Whoa, that can't be good for you.
It isn't. Your mission is to make a chart that lists each stimulant.
That sounds like a great way to learn about stimulants. We can write down the different stimulants, record the different names they have, how they're used, the effect on the body, the brain, and the neurotransmission.
That's a tall order.
Sure is.
But first, to help out, I'm going to show you a PET scan.
Oh, that's like when we took my dog to the vet to have x-rays. He ate one of my dad's slippers.
No, PET stands for positron emission tomography. But don't worry about that. All you need to know is that these PET scans show a normal brain and a brain affected by stimulants.
Let's get started on those charts. We'll work on them while we take a break and look at them when we come back. And we want to see your charts, too.
That's a very nice chart. Very impressive. Are you almost done? You do know a lot about stimulants. Tell me everything you know about stimulants.
I think you had enough coffee, Cordy. It's really starting to go to your head.
Caffeine is legal. Anyone can get it. It's in coffee and tea and soft drinks. But it's not a good idea for kids to have caffeine, even in sodas, because it makes you hyper, and it can cause headaches and sleep problems.
Cordy, I think you've done enough research for the moment. You need to take your own advice and lay off the stuff.
Maybe you're right.
But Cordy, if drugs are so bad for you, then why do people keep taking them?
That's a really good question. Juan, as a junior scientist, did you come to any conclusions on that?
Well, some drugs are addictive, like nicotine and cocaine. So once people start taking them, it can be very hard for them to stop. Even caffeine can be addictive.
That's what I need. A little more coffee. That'll wake me up.
I don't think so.
Well, maybe you're right. And anyway, I'm on to my next mission. Gotta visit the Spectacular Scientist Club kids. Later!
Brain power. Hey, what makes you so smart?
It's the brain, it's the brain, it's the brain.
Come on, you got the power. Brain power.
Hey, talk about your fine machine.
Brain power.
Makes you thoroughly unique.
With the power to think,
You can learn anything.
brain power. 100 billion neurons.
Hey, you got a lot of nerve. Got their own communication.
Hey, it doesn't look like anyone's here. So, how do you think we're doing in the competition so far?
I think we're doing really well. That board game we just made up was way cool.
It really was.
If we get one more good mission, we can pull ahead of the Brain Power kids and win the competition. I know they think they're gonna win, but I don't think so.
And maybe we'll even get to be junior scientists.
No doubt about it. In fact, we should probably go ahead and have our t-shirts made up right now. Spectacular Scientist Rule!
Hi, kids! I've got the perfect mission for you to work on with the junior scientists. How about it?
No way, we're gonna beat them at their own game.
That's right. We can do this without any of their help.
Guess all you kids took an extra dose of stubborn pills this morning.
We don't take drugs, Cordy.
Just a figure of speech. But seriously, your mission today is to learn about drugs.
But we learned about drugs years ago.
We want to learn something new.
What you're about to learn is something new. It's about drugs we haven't studied yet.
Whoa! Cool, sure.
The drugs we're going to talk about affect a person's brain and nervous system and can even change the brain.
Are they legal?
One is. Here's a hint. It was in the ad you kids were looking at a few missions ago.
Alcohol? But that's only legal for adults, not kids.
Exactly. Another one is marijuana.
That's illegal for everyone.
Right. The third is inhalants. Those are chemical fumes that people sniff or inhale. Inhalants can be very dangerous. Want to see a PET scan?
Cool, sure.
These are PET scans of the brain. The one on the left shows a brain on drugs. The one on the right is a normal, healthy brain. Look at how the normal brain shows a lot more activity than the brain affected by drugs. Now, your mission is to learn more about the drugs we talked about. You're going to draw a picture of the body and show how those drugs affect our brains, bodies, and nervous systems.
Let's see. That's alcohol, marijuana, and inhalants. Wow, that sure sounds like a challenge.
But we're up to it.
Then I'll see you on the flip side. Wow, great job! Tell me about them.
Well, marijuana goes by a lot of names. It's the most commonly used illegal drug in the United States. In the brain, marijuana mostly affects the basal ganglia and the cerebellum, which helps us move, and the cerebral cortex, which helps us think and communicate. So when people smoke marijuana, they can seem uncoordinated, and they may not make much sense when they talk.
Alcohol is found in beer, wine, and liquor. It affects the brain and almost every other organ in your body. In the brain, alcohol mostly affects the cerebral cortex, so heavy drinkers have slurred speech and sometimes they don't make sense. It also affects the limbic system, which controls our emotions, and the brainstem, which is in charge of the basics, like breathing. But alcohol also interferes with the way messages are carried by the neurotransmitters. So basically, it affects everything a person does. People who are dependent on alcohol may have a disease called alcoholism.
And inhalants are also really scary. They seem harmless because you can find them in everyday household items, like paint thinner, nail polish remover, and rubber cement. They won't hurt you if you use them for what they're supposed to be used for, like cleaning. But some people breathe in inhalants on purpose, and when the chemicals enter the bloodstream directly through the lungs, they get to the brain fast and they can do a lot of damage. Inhalants affect the structure of the brain, including the cerebral cortex, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. They also affect the frontal cortex, which is important for solving complex problems, and the hippocampus, which help us remember things. Inhalants can cause nerve damage, hearing loss, liver problems, and they may even kill a person by a heart attack or suffocation.
That is pretty scary stuff.
It is, and it makes me wonder about something. If these drugs are so bad, why do people try them at all, and then continue to use them once they cause problems?
Great question.
Maybe people don't know what kinds of problems drugs can cause, but once they find out, they're hooked.
They get addicted.
Good work. That's exactly what we're going to cover in our next mission. Time to go. We'll be right back.
Brain power. Hey, what makes you so smart?
It's the brain, it's the brain, it's the brain.
Come on, you got the power. Brain power.
Hey, talk about your fine machine.
Brain power.
Makes you thoroughly unique.
With the power thing.
You can learn anything.
Brain power. 100 billion neurons.
Hey, you got a lot of nerve. Got their own communication.
Transmitting information.
It's electrical.
Hi, kids. Glad to see you're all sitting together. Kind of. At least you're in the same room. I'm here to bring you the final mission, and you're all going to work on it together.
All right, now we have a neck-and-neck competition.
This is our chance to shine.
I don't think so.
I mean all together. Now, the mission is to learn more about addiction.
That's too easy.
I know you know a little about addiction. However, this mission will help you answer the question that's been on all of our minds.
Who's gonna win the competition?
No, forget about the competition for a minute. Learning about addiction will tell us why people continue to use harmful drugs even though they know the drugs are bad for them. Now, who can describe addiction?
Addiction is a disease of the brain that comes from drug use.
Good job.
How does addiction affect the brain?
It affects the neurotransmitters. It changes the way they function, so messages aren't loud and clear like they should be. They're garbled, like a bad telephone connection.
What else do drugs do to the neurotransmitters? Brain power, kids?
I guess we didn't do the mission on neurotransmission, so we're not sure.
Right, the other team did. But you aren't talking to them. Too bad. Now you do know how addiction affects the brain, right? Okay, spectacular science, kids. What can cocaine do to someone who uses it?
Cocaine is a stimulant.
We didn't learn about stimulants.
Do you know what class of drugs cocaine is in? The brain power kids did. Should have worked together. I'll bet the brain power kids can't tell us what effects inhalants have on the brain.
Inhalants affect the cerebral cortex, the cerebellum, and the brainstem.
Well, we didn't learn about inhalants.
I guess we all kind of missed out because we were so busy competing instead of working together.
I wonder if it's too late to try being a team?
Well, Beth and I'll try if you guys will.
Let's do it.
Woohoo! Woohoo! It took you too long, but now I'm singing my song. You learned teamwork late, but it was well worth the wait. So, now let's answer the question we're all asking.
Why did we try teamwork sooner?
No, Juan. I think he means why people continue to use harmful drugs, even though they know that they're bad for them.
We haven't figured that out yet.
Well, let's figure it out now. We'll start by learning some more about addiction. Do you know some of the signs of addiction? One is called tolerance. The longer someone takes a drug, the more of the drug they need to get the same feeling from it. Of course, a person is supposed to continue taking drugs that a doctor prescribes to him or her for medical reasons, and that person would not be considered addicted to those medicines. Another sign is compulsive use, when someone needs to use a drug over and over again, even if bad things are happening to them, like with the people they love, or their job, or with the police. And then there's withdrawal. Do you know what that is? That's when people need the drug to keep from feeling bad. With cocaine, for instance, if a user can't get it, they get depressed and nauseated, and they feel like they'll do anything to get it. Well, we've learned a lot, but we still have to answer our question. So work together, and we'll talk about that when we come back. Can I play? Can I play?
No!
Well, if you're playing a game, that must mean you figured out the answer to our question.
I think we did.
It seems people start using drugs for many different reasons.
But the reason they keep using them is addiction.
Once someone is addicted to a drug, it's very hard to stop using it, because addiction makes the brain feel like it needs the drug.
Addiction is very serious and very hard to overcome.
Very good! Excellent teamwork! So, can you sum up what you've learned in these 6 missions?
Drugs and addiction mess up the way the brain is supposed to work.
And teamwork helps us understand things better than we could on our own.
Great work! And now the reward. Spectacular Scientist Club members, I now pronounce you Junior Scientists. See what happens when you work together as a team?
Teamwork rules!
Okay, brain, show me what you got.
Observation, hesitation, regulation, mitigation, conjugation, meditation. Revelation!